Hello everyone, welcome back. Good evening. Today we've got a couple of stuff to talk about. Relatively slow, easygoing day. Although we did have a drop, and we're currently suffering the consequences of that. Last stream yesterday, we were still above the uptrend, right? But we were still being overshadowed by this downtrend that I mentioned we would likely bounce off of and head downwards. I did accurately predict the fact that this uptrend was getting very weak and we were going to see a drop right after. Sure enough, that did happen. I will now delete this uptrend because I feel it is no longer needed. We have already confirmed the fact that we're practically about to get the death cross, in which we will be headed toward a downtrend for Bitcoin, which is expected. I've been explaining this. We will be in a downtrend from here until approximately April 2nd would be the major day of reckoning. It's called Liberation Day from Donald Trump, his parting gift to everybody, to your portfolio, right? Because who knows what's going to happen on that day. A lot of tariffs, right? Tariff announcements, a lot of uncertainty regards to that, so that's what markets should be preparing for at this time. Yeah, a bit nervous for now, but overall, I think we're fine. So, what happened? We bounced off the 200 exponential moving average. We dropped below that now, we broke it. We landed at the support level at 84,500 approximately, which is another level that I did accurately predict to where we would drop to. We did dip a little bit below that, 83,500, but we recovered from that, and we are currently met with this 84,500 as our resistance. Am I a magician or what? No, it was just a simple prediction. It wasn't nothing too crazy. Based off of technical levels, that's what we were expecting anyway today, especially due to the fact that we did get economic data today. I mentioned that if the economic data was... if it's good for the US economy, it's good for the US dollar, it's bad for Bitcoin or anything that goes against the US dollar. Bitcoin, BTC, goes against USDT, right? US dollar. So US dollar rises, Bitcoin drops kind of idea. And that's precisely what happened. We did get that economic data today for core PCE price index. Last month we had 0.3%. We expected everything to stay at 0.3%. But we actually got 0.4%. And what does this mean is that the economy, it's surprisingly a little better, right? The US dollar in this case. It's strengthening due to the fact, no, I don't think that's what this means. This means that it's the inflation, right? This measures inflation. Excludes volatile food and energy prices. Yeah, it measures the inflation. The inflation rate increased by 0.1%. More inflation, less chance that we would be getting any rate cuts, right? We wouldn't get rate cuts if inflation is on the rise. So inflation rose. This is what this means. It has nothing to do with the US dollar. I apologize. But yeah. And if inflation is right, Bitcoin is supposed to be a hedge against inflation. So long term, of course, it should be good for Bitcoin. But we're looking more at the short term at this time. We're looking at the FedWatch tool that would show the percentages of where we would get the rate cuts. Although I don't think the percentages have been impacted by much. But it's still worth checking out anyway. Oh, they did get impacted. Actually, a higher percent chance of... this used to be 87%, pretty sure. Yep, it was indeed that. That was indeed the case. Alright, not too bad. But still, inflation on the rise. Tariffs are actually having a bit of an effect is what people are thinking. And, of course, what's going to happen next? We're going to get more tariffs April 2nd. People are afraid for that. But I think we've sort of slowed down the drop, as I mentioned. We currently bounced back up a little bit higher. Overall, though, we are down 3% for Bitcoin. It's not just Bitcoin that suffered today, though. It's actually over $1.25 trillion that has been wiped out of the stock market in the United States today. In terms of crypto, it was $120 million that got liquidated from this drop. This drop mainly happened overnight, though, right? Overnight is when we started seeing the decline in the price. What time was this? Yeah, 23 o'clock, 0 o'clock. That's 12 a.m. midnight. We started seeing the drop, and then it just continued dropping at around, 8, 9, 10, headed downwards a little bit more in this morning. So, yeah, that's what we have for that. Ethereum is kind of recovering from its drop as well. It dropped to a low of 1,861. None of these technical levels it paid attention to, right? It paid attention to this one. Same low that we saw over here. So that's interesting. 1,860 might be interesting to pay attention to going forward. So I'm just going to keep that noted. From here, it seems like we are currently on our way back up, looking for 1928. This is based off of a fib retracement level that I drew from the recent little recovery that we had since our absolute lowest point when Ethereum hit 1,753. I mentioned we wouldn't see a drop further below 1,828. Hopefully not, because then we would have to use our last resort, which I would rather us not use. The second support level, we're looking at 1,770 approximately. And if that's the case, then God save your portfolio. Next coin is, well, hold on, I didn't mention percentages here. So it's 4.66% that Ethereum is down, and we're currently at 1,908. Solana is down 5.73%, $129.87. We're looking to stay above $130. We're almost there. Tapped it a couple of times, dropped to a low of 127 today. Solana had a hard drop as well. So we actually had the hardest of them all, but that's mainly due to the fact that it was rallying in the days prior, due to unknown reasons, realistically. I'll review that in a second. XRP was where I entered yesterday, and look at that, a nice take profit was finally hit. Don't worry, guys, I lost in a position today on Cardano, which we'll review in a sec as well. So I'll be writing this down while I'm at it, because I have to write this stuff down just to ensure I get all my data in order. Sui was the last trade that I noted. And the open price, no, Sui. Yeah, and then it's XRP next. Okay, that's what I meant to do. XRP closed on, yeah, March 28, midnight. That's today, midnight, early this morning, however you want to say it. Opened at 232. Well, 233, I guess. Closed at 227. We were shorting it, so we make money when price drops. Made 131 profit, and paid a couple of fees, 454. Take profit triggered. That's 2 take profits in a row. That's great. We're now down $316. However, I decided to be sneaky and entered Cardano today, which I probably should not have done. I'll analyze why I did this. So we do have the death cross officially in Cardano as of literally a couple hours ago, 5 hours ago, and it's been on the rise, right? So then I figured, you know what? The current candlestick is showing a little bit of red. Maybe we will drop again, but I will not be expecting it to drop too much. Like if I was expecting a 1 to 3, that would be probably too much to ask for, so I would have done instead a 1 to 1.25. Given the fact that we are in Friday evening, tomorrow Saturday, very low volatility, and also Sunday, early Sunday will be low volatility as well. This weekend we're expecting not much volatility, kind of market, maybe sentiment toward the downside as people are preparing for what would be known as April 2nd's Liberation Day, Trump tariffs. We'll see what occurs there, right? That being said, I do have my trading bot running at the current moment. It's still showing a uptrend in the 5-minute chart, so we're on our way back up, but I feel like once we reach this level over here, we'll start to maybe see a bounce back to the downside, and I could take advantage of that bounce back to the downside, given the fact that we are indeed in a downtrend starting from this point. You can kind of see what I'm talking about, right? If I draw a downtrend from here, We got something like this going on. I don't know, maybe we lateralize for a while, but I feel like eventually, maybe tomorrow, we will eventually see a bit of a drop. I don't think we're going to rally over the weekend, because why would we do that, right? It's practically confirmed that we will be headed towards the downside, and we will be low for the beginning of April. And that will be a good thing, because from April onwards, well, Q1, first of all, will be finished, as I mentioned in yesterday's stream. Q2 will start, and what better place to start than literally from the bottom? We're at very, very close to bottom levels for practically Bitcoin and most altcoins, right? Oh, and since we are on the drop right now, I would love to see... Also, like, by the way, that's perfect resistance for the Fibonacci. I will draw another one to kind of determine where we can see a slowdown in the drops, and that's precisely where we see this level right over here. A slowdown over here. We're expecting to see another slowdown at the first support level drawn off of the weekly pivot points that we have here. Hey, if worse comes to worse, you'll see Cardano at 67 cents. That's it. This uptrend will serve as a support, right, for any further drops. It shouldn't drop less than that, technically speaking. My indicators indicate that to me, okay? All right. Now, okay, let me zoom in a bit here as well in the 5-minute chart, because the bot did enter this trade. Correct configuration, right? The 5-minute chart was showing a short entry. We are in a downtrend, so it went ahead and did its short position, like right over here, but eventually it ended up losing. Its stop loss would have been like over here, right above that minimum, and it hit the stop loss at this candle. So yeah, it was unfortunate, but this is what the trade kind of looked like. Seems reasonable, right? And it seems like we're about to get another one of those right over here. Given the fact that this is probably going to serve as a resistance now, and also the fact that this is the old uptrend, I don't think it's going to be worth using this anymore. I could probably remove that. My bot will likely enter this again. And why am I choosing Cardano? Because I feel like it has more potential to the downside compared to the rest of the coins, some of whom have not yet had their death cross. I'm talking about things like Bitcoin, not yet for Solana. It's about to cross. It practically did at this point. Maybe Solana, but it didn't drop as much yet. What else we got? Ethereum. Ethereum already had a very massive drop. I don't think it's going to drop too much further down. I'm reserving this drop for the upcoming days, not for something short-term where I can scalp a trade. XRP. XRP is possible, but I feel like I already took advantage of it. Sui, not yet. We're still waiting for the death cross. This has to cross downward. So it's still got a lot of potential to, do literally anything. It could drop a lot or maybe just do nothing for this moment. And Litecoin is also a possibility, but I feel like it's not going to drop that much further down. Why? Because our lowest point of the year for Litecoin, according to the chart, I think. No, not even that. Never mind. I thought the lowest point was actually 83. It's actually 80. Well, 79.78, But I don't think we're going to drop that much for Litecoin. Like I said, it's similar to kind of what Ethereum experienced. A very large drop of maybe 7-8% at its worst. I'm pushing it. It's probably 7%. And its recovery is not that great either. 2% recovery. I feel like it's, if it does drop, it's not going to drop too crazy. My opinion. So that's why I chose Cardano. I feel like it has more of a chance to drop here. Why? Because look at the amount of space it has to reach its previous minimum point. You have a support down here that it looks like it's absolutely going to hit, right? So yeah, it just makes more sense, in my opinion, for us to see a better drop in Cardano instead. Seems like we're about to enter this trade in maybe a minute. I hope we don't go too far down. I was expecting to see something like this that I drew out over here. Who cares? The bigger the distance, the... actually, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. Just rise before you enter, please and thanks. This is absolutely going to enter a trade. So we'll see how that plays out. I already lost in one, so... oh yeah, I was going to write that down. So let's do that. Our next trade was Cardano. I'm going to try this twice. So this is the first one that failed. The second one will hopefully recover what I failed. I'm expecting to at least. And we'll see what happens. This was a stop loss of losing 49 and paying $6. And we actually had a positive funding fee. That's pretty good. 533 was the total fees paid. This is a stop loss. Save that. I still have faith in this. I don't like how far this seems to be, because now if you're gonna enter there, stop loss is likely gonna be there. Take profit will probably be all the way down here, which I don't think that looks too great. I'm okay with it still, because I'm doing a 1 to 1.25 risk reward ratio. It's about to happen. Should I wait it out? I'll just go with it. I've seen what a Cardano can drop by, so we'll ride it out. It's about to enter the trade right here. Maybe not. Ah, there it is. Oh, look at that. Precisely what I drew. Alright. We'll just hope this doesn't reverse on me. We'll see what happens. Am I too confident in this trade? Probably not. I don't like the fact, look, that we had a large drop before entering. That's like the worst time to confirm an entry, but hey, that's part of the strategy. Whatever. We'll ride it out. And of course, the candle just starts turning green immediately as soon as I enter the trade. If it does go green and I'm shorting, that means I lose money. But it's fine. That's part of the strategy. Another reason why we may have dropped as well is a CME gap. We actually had a CME gap to fill, a new one. And I want to actually explore this for myself. This is Bitcoin CME futures, Bitcoin CME futures. Is it with COT 3? I don't think it is. Do I have to type in futures? What is all these numbers? What is this ticker? Futures. Alright, well, what is this? Alright, cool, thanks. CME group. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Bitcoin. Does this show CME anywhere here? Or do I have to type in BTC CME? Am I blind? CME. Oh, it does show. Here it is. And it has a gap. Perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So this actually shows with sessions, right? Bitcoin with sessions from Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And there's gaps when? During the weekends. Because Bitcoin is open, supposed to be open 24/7, right? But on the weekends, especially during a regulated market, for US markets at least, you'll have weekends closed and overnight hours closed. So this right over here, March 21 to March 23, that was a weekend. What does this mean? Well, this is what it means. We draw two horizontal lines from this low and one from this high, or wherever the candle closed, I suppose. If this is an uptrend, an up candle, it closes there. This is the CME gap between $85,000 and $84,100 respectively. So it's something that has to be filled eventually, right? Is what the CME gaps mean. Pretty sure there could be positive ones as well, right? So this one was a positive CME gap, just to give you guys an example here. From this point to this point, it kind of got filled up pretty quickly, right? So that got filled up. That's why we had our rise over here. Now you can invalidate this completely, and the next gap happened over here. So if we were up, eventually we would have to come back down and refill that gap, which is something that we did over here. If you're wondering why I'm explaining this, is because this practically did work way before when we had our very initial pump right over here. This thing right over here was a CME gap that was talked about a lot. I'll use the lowest point just to prove my point here. So this gap had to be filled in. And this happened back in November when Trump got elected and Bitcoin was rallying like crazy and we hit 110,000, right? From there, I mean, that gap had to be filled eventually, and it did get filled fully, right? First time it didn't fully get filled. The second drop that we had, March 11, it got fully filled, right? March 10, March 11. From there, we have already recovered. So this CME gap from back in November has been filled and completely invalidated. Just goes to show that the CME gaps are likely to get filled. Now, what's going to happen here? It already happened, right? We filled the gap. So that's what most people are currently talking about. The CME gap is filled. That means bottom indicator. Hopefully, let's reverse things and start going upwards. Will it reverse? I think we're going to stay down here for a while. It's not like a super specific, perfect, like a bottom indicator. It just gives you a general idea of where the price is likely to hit because it has to fill up that gap. Bitcoin has to have costed that price when, you know, the market wasn't open for regulated markets, people that try to trade Bitcoin in regulated markets, the CME futures specifically here. So, yep, that's been covered now. I actually want to save this chart because it's pretty decent. Bitcoin CME futures, save. Drop you up here, please. I'll save it with Bitcoin dominance, like the Bitcoin real price, Bitcoin dominance, and trying to put this as perfect as possible, perfectly spread. Increase this so that we can, yeah, I'll just do that. That's good enough. Good. So Bitcoin dominance as well. This is Bitcoin compared to literally the rest of the altcoins. The whole market cap of Bitcoin versus the whole market cap of what is in the altcoins. This means that 61%, it's measured in percentages, not in dollars or none of that. 61% of all crypto market cap is currently in Bitcoin. That's a very high percentage, relatively speaking. Why? Because people are scared of altcoins right now. They're seeing how low it is. They think Bitcoin is a safer place to put your money right now if you really, really wanted to invest in the crypto market. But that will kind of fade away as time passes on. Because Bitcoin will do its rise. It will rise. And we're seeing that. Based off of global M2 liquidity supply, etc. Exchange reserves dropping, a lot of ETF accumulations, institutions, governments, a lot of states in the United States are passing legislations for Bitcoin reserves, etc. So we know Bitcoin is going to rise. And when it does its rise, it's going to cause a lot of FOMO. It's going to regain its popularity. It's going to pique the retail investors' interest again. And people will want to invest in Bitcoin again when Bitcoin costs $120,000, right? Whatever, just to give you a number. When that is the case, though, the people who think they're smart, I would say, will see that and say, oh, Bitcoin already rose and I missed the train. I should have bought Bitcoin at $84,222.74 on March 28th. But anyway, that's besides the point. Now, what are those people going to do? They're going to say, what else does crypto have to offer? They're going to look at the other altcoins and say, Ethereum is still kind of down. I've seen that Ethereum can rise to 4,000. Maybe people are predicting it goes to 5,000. And Ethereum, say now, thanks to Bitcoin rising, it's, I don't know, $3,000. I think Ethereum can still rise. I'll buy Ethereum. I'll buy XRP. I'll buy Solana because I think those can still rise after Bitcoin has already made its rise. That's what's called the alt season. Oh, look at this. Anyway, that's what's called the alt season, where people will take their profits from Bitcoin, first of all. So the market cap of Bitcoin will drop, not like significantly, but like compared for the rest of the altcoins. We're talking about percentages, right? What percent is in Bitcoin? What percent is in literally every other asset that is not Bitcoin? This includes stable coins as well, by the way, which are also famous to hold for their yield, the interest payments that they give out. That's besides the point, though. Now those people will move that money from Bitcoin and start investing into the altcoins because now they think that the altcoins have the potential of giving a greater return because Bitcoin has already made its run, right? And like I said, that's what's known as the alt season, and that will likely happen in November this year. That's what I'm thinking, at least. That will also be the cycle top for Bitcoin. Some people are even saying it might even extend until 2026. I kind of agree with that too. If things do get delayed, because we're seeing a very, very slow start to this bull market. I saw another chart. I don't have it, so that's an issue. But I really wanted to show that chart where it showed like Bitcoin compared to the previous cycles. I don't know if I can find it. Bitcoin cycles. No. This is it. The traditional 4-year Bitcoin cycle doesn't appear to be holding. Are we witnessing the beginning of a new Bitcoin paradigm? You'll notice that every year the cycles have been different, right? This is a 4-year cycle for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is cyclical every 4 years. It mimics the same kind of activity. It doesn't seem like it's moved too much. We're the black line, by the way, compared to this is the previous 4 cycles that Bitcoin has ever had in its existence. You see the very first one had a great run. The second one had this run right over here, the second best run. 2020 was a decent run as well, but you're noticing that Bitcoin's 2024 run, which is the black line right over here, it seems like it's starting later than the rest, right? Given the fact that not all of them started at the same time. The very first one started way earlier. Within, what is this? I don't know. Give me a number. We'll just pick this side. 75 days. I'm assuming, yeah, days after the halving event. 2016 started maybe 200 days after the halving event. In 2020, we started 300 days after the halving event. We're in 2024, well, 2025, but this 2024 was the year of the halving, last year, April. And it seems like maybe 400 days, 375 is when we will start seeing Bitcoin rally once again. But how high can we go? Look at the peaks of each one. Of course, this is giving different prices for each scale between, the years and their all-time highs. I don't know, maybe Bitcoin will reach its 200,000. I don't think it's going to reach a million, but So yeah, things are starting off a little bit slower. I will agree with that. And it seems like that has been the case each time, which that's the explanation of why we can still see the bull run continue even after November, going into 2026, and still continue to rise. There's another chart that also speculates that 2016 is likely going to 2026, is going to be a very good year for stocks and crypto as well. That's just speculation, though, not financial advice. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows, right? Anyways, given that being the case, Bitcoin dominance will drop. And when Bitcoin dominance goes below, 50%? I guess you could call this alt season. When is this here? This is December of last year, 2024. I can't go much further back, can I? This 2016 January, where Bitcoin dominance was 50%, I would call this an alt season. Okay, well, my magnet is messing up my drawings, but you get the point. Bitcoin dominance is practically nearing all-time high levels once again. At this point over here, February 2nd was the first ever tariff announcement from Donald Trump that caused a major crash in the crypto markets. What spiked up? Bitcoin dominance did. Because the altcoins bled like crazy. Altcoins had the worst drop that their worst days for most altcoins, you're going to see in the charts, was February 2nd. But that wasn't too bad for Bitcoin, though. Bitcoin didn't drop as much. It went from 100 and something thousand to 90,000. That's how bad it dropped. Something like that. But it just goes to show, like, when people are scared with their altcoins, they'll just invest in Bitcoin instead because they know that it's safer. And, speculating to see what happens from there. So yeah, that's the second chart that I have, Bitcoin dominance, and then Bitcoin CME futures. The gap has now been filled. That was the moral of the story. I know I explained a lot. There's also a chart that compares Ethereum versus Bitcoin. The price of Ethereum versus the price of Bitcoin. And Ethereum has hit an all-time low, a 4-year low, not all-time, against Bitcoin. Meaning that, Bitcoin is much stronger than Ethereum at this point. Of course it is. And the prices suggest that, right? Maybe it's a good time to go into Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum is at a very low price. I don't like that green candle. 1,900, while Bitcoin is still remaining, I'd still say it's relatively strong. 84,300, that's pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Next news is there was fake news going around, circulating about Binance planning to delist Ethereum from their centralized exchange. That'd be pretty funny. Obviously, this is fake. Why would Binance delist Ethereum? That caused some FUD overnight. It explains the reason why we had a bit of a drop in Ethereum right over here. This huge drop. And on top of that, though, hackers, you know, the hackers from Bybit, apparently are also selling. So both of those, Bybit hacker selling and the Binance delist ETH rumor, is the reason why Ethereum was dumping. Yeah. But there's reasons to stay bullish for Ethereum. First of all, if you look at this chart over here, Ethereum validators are surging. What does this mean? There's a lot of, I don't know how to explain it, contract addresses on the blockchain, people preparing to, you know, validate Ethereum transactions. And why is this surge in validators increasing? Because people know that there is likely going to be the Ethereum ETF staking approval coming soon. If there's a lot of people that are going to be staking Ethereum, they need validators, and those validators are going to help with that Ethereum staking process, right? That's going to make Ethereum absolutely increase in value. I agree. And, you know, like I've said, we've seen this in US Congress quite a bit. Ethereum ETF staking going to be coming soon. And BlackRock has mainly been the one that has been pushing for that. So we'll see if that actually comes to reality. There's also a lot of whale accumulation. 100 million plus ETH being purchased by the whales. The staking news will be huge. Most people remain unaware. It's like watching chess while others play checkers. Yeah, we'll see what happens for that. And here's a controversial opinion, controversial in quotes. I kind of agree with these, but main reasons of why Ethereum is going to outperform any other major cryptocurrencies this year: the ETH ETF and institutional staking is coming, and a major DeFi wave that will take a huge chunk of market share from centralized exchanges. Possible NFT season 2.0. I don't really know if I agree with that one. But hey, who knows? Maybe NFTs do make a comeback. Maybe they'll have a better reason to exist. Also, like I said, BlackRock's Ethereum assets under management surpass $2 billion. BlackRock knows that something big is going to happen. So, good sign to accumulate Ethereum, I would say. Grayscale filing for Avalanche ETF. I'm not sure that's... I would like that. We know what Grayscale can do. I don't like this rise. Am I losing in Cardano? No, I'm alright. Avalanche. I wanted to see if there was any difference in the price. They're obviously dropping. It's dropping 8%. Okay, well, there's your answer. South Carolina lawmakers propose a bill to invest 10% of state funds in Bitcoin. Like I said, governments, states, they're buying and making their federal reserves, well, their strategic reserves, sorry, not federal. We also know that GameStop is doing the same thing. I had some GameStop news here. Apparently the institutional investors didn't really like that. The news that GameStop would be accumulating more Bitcoin with all that cash on hand that they have. It's weird that they decided to raise funds to create their Bitcoin strategic reserve in GameStop stock. They actually had to restrict trading on it on the New York Stock Exchange after there's a lot of short volume rising 234% over 24 hours. So a lot of institutional investors started shorting GameStop, it seems like. I think a short squeeze will be coming, though. Why? Because Bitcoin will just make that magic happen. Depends on how much they allocate towards that. And also, if retail investors decide to declare war once again on the institutional investors, cue and roaring kitty to see what happens here. He's the master of fighting back against these institutional investors. Although, you know, he might be in a bit of legal troubles for all this whole conducting this whole insider trading stuff. But hey, I think they should look at Nancy Pelosi first if they're gonna crack down on the insider trading. Robert Kiyosaki says that silver is better than Bitcoin. Here's a post that he yapped about. Claims that among the three real assets, he's always mentioning gold, silver, Bitcoin. Silver for the next 2 months is the best. Maybe for April, but not for. I just have the feeling that in May, June, July, it's gonna rally like crazy. Bitcoin's gonna outperform gold. It's gonna outperform silver. But I kind of agree with the point that silver, sure, it's a good point to accumulate, I think, because number one, gold is still at all-time high levels, I'm pretty sure. 3,084, yeah, literally. Still all-time high levels today. I don't have silver here. Silver, is it XAG? Here. It's also at high levels, but not all-time high levels. And silver, of course, can be valuable. It's at 34 right now. And I think I saw in another post that he was predicting it would rise to something like $70. Yeah, here it is. I believe silver may soon be $70 an ounce this year and $200 in a year or two. That's a bold claim. For silver, you're expecting silver to... What's 20 divided by 3? 6x? 20 divided by 3? Yeah, 6x. Yeah. He also says, the rich get richer. For many years, I have been recommending people not save fake money, so fiat government money. For years, I've recommended saving real gold and silver coins. Recently, Bitcoin. Unfortunately, most people work for and save fake money. The reason he's saying fake money is just because, you know, the government can always print out more money. It's this whole big scam where you have to work for money while the government doesn't really have to work for the money. They could just print it out and, you know, cheat the system. They can get infinite money. But of course, that brings inflation, and, you know, they always try to control that, quote unquote, but whatever. As prices of gold, silver, and Bitcoin go up, the purchasing power of those who work for and save fake money get poorer via government theft, known as inflation. Yeah, literally, I just explained. I want you to grow richer, not poorer. Please start working for and saving gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Silver for the next 2 months is the best of the three. Are we sure this is not an old post? Because I'm pretty sure I saw this similar post months ago. I don't know. Today silver is about $35 an ounce. Oh no, it actually is a recent post then. 34.58. Yeah, it's a recent post. He might have explained the same thing twice then. I don't know. He believes silver may be $70, then $200 next year. Best news is almost everyone in the world can afford at least one silver coin today, but not tomorrow. I don't know about that. Cool. Yeah. About the silver though, yeah, sure. You can accumulate Bitcoin. You can accumulate gold and silver, but mainly I would focus on Bitcoin. I feel like it has the bigger rate of return potential for this year. Although, yes, it will be more volatile and potentially more riskier depending on what happens with this whole tariff situation and the US economic growth. But I still feel like it's a fair bet. Bitcoin's still at a decent price. I feel like it's likely to rise from there. I think I hit this trade perfectly well. I'm calling tops on that, and I'm likely short over here. I wouldn't expect too much from it though, because if I was doing a 1 to 3, expecting it to drop over here on a Saturday. I mean, we're a Friday night, but tomorrow's Saturday, and I don't think we're gonna break our lowest point of today. What happened here? 1250. Yeah, I don't think so. So I'm keeping it 1 to 1. There you go. We'll see what happens. I might absolutely jinx myself and this can rise and hit my stop loss and I'll look foolish, but that's okay. It always happens live too. Whatever. Global N2 money supply is still in play. Mini rally that fails is currently happening. The rally will continue to fail. We'll stay flat for a couple days here. And then we'll drop right over here, which if you pay attention, that's the beginning of April, literally, quite literally. April 2nd, April 3rd, we'll probably see continuation of the drop. We'll have a small recovery, but decreasing price decay as people, you know, kind of fear possible whale accumulation. I don't know what happens over here. M2 money supply, it's not an accurate predictor, but it gives you a general idea of where the market is headed. We see that M2 money supply shows with a 108-day offset, it's likely to drop by the beginning of April. So Bitcoin will likely do the same. It will drop by the beginning of April, and it's something that I pointed out a couple days ago now. So that's still in play. When will we start to see the rise? May 1st. May 1st will start the rally once again. We'll start recovering lost territory very, very fast. What's going to happen? Likely a supply shock or just a lot of whale accumulation, institutional investing. The Bitcoin halving will have its effect, I would suppose, because the miners have to pay their bills. They need Bitcoin's price to continue rising, and that's why it's been coded like that, to get a halving every 4 years to make Bitcoin mining 2 times harder. You get half of the rewards that you used to get 4 years ago. That's why it's important. Next, Trump may slap reciprocal tariffs on as many as 25 countries on April 2nd. I'm pretty sure he said for all countries. That's why we must pray for Bitcoin, meaning that we're expecting a drop indeed by April 2nd. That's the big thing. President Trump also pardoned BitMEX co-founders Arthur Hayes, well, he's the founder, or CEO, I think, Benjamin DeLo and Samuel Reed. Don't remember when, but they pleaded guilty to federal charges including money laundering and violating the Bank Secrecy Act. A BitMEX from BitMEX exchange. I don't use BitMEX. I've heard of it absolutely, but I haven't used it. So yeah, cool. They have been pardoned by Trump, meaning you have a very pro-crypto president in the White House. Why are you still bearish on crypto? He even has a meme coin, guys. Come on. This is the guy, by the way. BitMEX co-founder Arthur Hayes. He's also been making some Bitcoin predictions. He actually believes Bitcoin will hit 110,000 first instead of 76,500. Or if that happens, sorry. And if that happens, it will continue to soar to $250,000. That might still be the case. If I check the where is it? M2 money supply here. So if we don't drop to 75,000, which is what it said, right? I deleted the post, I think. 76,500. Let me pull up the Bitcoin chart just to see this a little better. That's 81 here. So 76,500 is practically our support for now, right? I don't think we're going to break below that. We will continue a drop until April 2nd. How low can we go? 81,000, worst case 78,000, maybe. It also depends on what the next pivot points will be shown as, because those get updated every week. So by Monday, we'll know for sure. This downtrend does prevail, so also keep an eye on that. We'll stay down. Hey, we could stay below over here until like end of April. Look at the bottom part over here. Beginning of May, 76,500 meets the downtrend. That's also just so perfect. Downtrend meets support. Critical support. Possible breakout and rally. I agree. May rally month. April will stay relatively flat. Not much will be going on. We'll see something like this, I suppose, right? Nothing too crazy in terms of volatility. Yeah. But in terms of drops, just hope you don't see these levels down here. And if we don't break below 76,500, which would spell the end of the bear market, breaking below this level specifically, the all-time high of 2024, well, it was an important resistance, right? If we don't break down below that, bull market is still in play. We shall continue rising. He mentioned, what did he mention? 110,000 first, then soar straight to 250,000. I think that's a bit too aggressive, too much of a rise. But we'll see what happens. Nobody knows. President Trump said he had a very good talk with Mark Carney, Prime Minister, unfortunately, of Canada. He says that he believes things are going to work out very well between the U.S. and Canada. He also summarized this in a Truth Social post, saying that it was an extremely productive call. They agree on many things, and they will be meeting immediately after Canada's upcoming election to work on elements of politics, business, and all other factors that will end up being great for both the United States and America. Couple things. So he's saying that he will meet up with Mark Carney after Canada's upcoming election. Does Trump seriously think that this guy's going to win? Mark Carney, leader of the Liberal Party? A lot of people are hoping and expecting for Pierre Poilievre to win, although I understand it's probably going to be a 50-50 close kind of vote, because we have a lot of liberals in this country. I mean, we've been under liberal power for the past 10 years, and it's been a disaster, but who cares, I guess? They really don't care. I'm voting for change. I'm also just conservative in general, so I'll be voting Pierre. We are getting elections end of April. Hey, maybe that sparks that could be the reason why we pump as well. May 1st, because a new Canadian leader will be elected. I don't know, maybe let's just hypothetically say it's Pierre Poilievre, and he figures out a tariff solution with Trump. No more tariffs in Canada. Boom. Market rises like crazy. How about that, huh? Would make sense, in my opinion. We'll see what happens, though. And also the fact that Donald Trump is practically now, I don't know if he's jokingly endorsing Mark Carney, because it's the Liberal Party right now. Well, the Liberals in Canada in general, people that would vote for Liberals, are very mad at, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, whatever the case may be, because of all the tariffs, because of Elon Musk, quote unquote, betraying Canada and its interests. They actually want him to revoke his citizenship in Canada. He's double citizen in, I don't know if he has more citizenships, but I know it's in Canada and US for Elon Musk. And now, what are they going to do? The elbows up people. Elbows up is like their campaign slogan. I don't even understand what it means. It just seems such a random phrase. I'm not going to look into it either. I could care less. I don't really care. Anyway, but it's going to cause a lot of confusion for the elbows up people, for the Liberal Party, for the Liberal people. I should stop saying party. Because now it seems like Trump is fine with Mark Carney. The main attacking point from the Liberals toward the Conservatives was that Pierre was like the Maple MAGA is what they called him, right? He's practically going to be like Donald Trump and do the same things in Canada. And if you hate Donald Trump, you're not going to like Pierre Poilievre. But it seems like that is not the case at all, because Trump has even said Pierre Poilievre is not a MAGA guy. And also, he also mentioned he would rather deal with the liberals rather than conservatives. I'm pretty sure he said that in a mocking way, saying that the liberals are weak and dumb and don't understand things very well, and they will be easily manipulative to do what Donald Trump wants to do, or also likely to prey on liberals in order to annex Canada to becoming the 51st state, the big 51st state, right? That is always being talked about, to belong to the US. If that is the case, I think, hey, even if the liberals do win, likely Alberta and Quebec, I saw in a post somewhere else, will just leave Canada completely. Because Alberta is just having none of that stuff, right? They're just like, you know what, screw Canada, screw Canadian policies. We're going to be a part of the United States now. And similar deal with Quebec. They just dislike all parties, I think, in general. Just like run by the Bloc Québécois, a different political party, apart from conservative and liberal, right? They also have the NDP party, which, you know what, it's taken away votes from the Liberal Party because they lean more liberal anyway sometimes, so good for them. They've got a terrible political party as well, the NDP. It's mainly overshadowed by Jagmeet Singh and his terrible policies, or proposals, I guess, for policies. Also very hypocritical guy and just tries to appear and act tough. It's just kind of pathetic, honestly, to see. But anyway, enough about that. Kind of wanted to not talk about politics on the crypto show, because I want to save those for like separate videos, but I'm just talking about it more. I have a lot of stuff saved up, but I just have to find like, I don't know, the narrative, the time to set all of that up and figure out exactly what I'm going to talk about. I could talk about for anything for hours, right? Anyway, new tariffs are being announced for pharmaceutical companies. There you go. You had the automotive industry, now it's the pharmaceutical companies. So another reason why stocks started dropping today, especially health companies. So yeah, nice. And then the last bit of news is Elon Musk, XAI, his AI company, acquired Twitter X in an all-stock transaction. So XAI now owns X. So Twitter is now being owned by Elon Musk's AI company. So the combination values XAI at $80 billion. X costs $33 billion, which is $45 billion less. What? It's hurting my brain. You remember that Elon Musk bought Twitter for $40 billion, something like that. It devalued a little. I think it did break even at one point, but it's now $33 billion that was sold to XAI. Both companies are still owned by Elon Musk, so I don't understand what the point of this. The point of this is Elon Musk sold Twitter to Elon Musk for $33 billion. That's all I gotta really know. Nice. Okay, we're seeing a drop still. I'm hoping Cardano is still on the drop. It is. We're halfway there. Can we hit a take profit live? That would be pretty neat. Okay. It's starting off pretty good. I don't know. We're not going to expect a lot of volatility tonight. Or tomorrow. And the time has come to end the stream. Hey, if this does hit a take profit, I'll recover this dumb trade that I lost over here. So I don't even know if this is all worth it in the end. I'm just giving money to the exchange with all these fees that I'm paying. That's why I'm going for like a 1 to 1.25 risk-reward ratio, right? Something like that. Yeah. All right, we'll see what happens. I will go to sleep. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something new. If you like what I do, follow, share, like, and subscribe to my channel. I'm just joking. Yeah, no. Seriously, thanks, guys. And also, how many subscribers do I even have? I want to thank all of you. View my channel. I'm looking at my other monitor. 373 subscribers. Wow, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah, take care then. Have a good weekend. Will I stream tomorrow? Yeah, I'll stream tomorrow just to go over a bunch of stuff. There's always a lot to talk about every day. Even though it seems like there's no news, there's still always stuff to talk about. So yeah. All right, guys. Take care.